we have invited a full-time momentum trader, Ms. Preeti Tiwari. Ms. Preeti had been trading and investing for quite some time. She had been an investor for over a decade now, but into trading also for quite some time. So, along with Preeti, we have our product manager for futures and options product manager, Mr. Manas. So, Manas is also there. Hi, Manas.
Hi, Shankar. Yeah.
And along with Manas, we have all of you together. So, we'll have a lot of inputs and information today from Preeti. So, hi, Preeti. Welcome.
Hey, Sanka. Hi. Thank you so much, as I said, for having me here. And good evening, all of you who are, here on the spaces listening me there. So, yeah, we are good to go.
So, Preeti, my question to you first is before, as we start up, like, how did you start your trading journey? The reason why we are asking you is like, I know many of us are already aware of your journey, but for many people who are going to listen to you for the first time, so they will get to know and get inspired with your story, Preeti. So, if you can just share how you started your trading journey?
So, Sanka, see, I have been trading since 2018. 2018 has been a part-time thing. So it wasn't like that. I have been trading throughout the year. So from 2019, basically, I have been the full-time trader. Before that, how these stock market came into my life. How this came into my life is like I am an ex-banker. I work with ICICI Bank. So basically, I was into investment and investments team, wherein we used to basically go ahead and cater to all the investment needs of the clients. So it was retailers initially, and then I was moved to corporate section, which is basically known as TASC, that is Trust Association Societies and Clubs. So in spite of retailers, I was quite into these big institutions as well. So later on, from banking, I have also worked in insurance company. So during the part of my job, I have never been into trading because I never had that inclination of doing trading and stuff. But yes, I was investing a lot. Later on, I opted for entrepreneurship and I quit my job. And from 2010, I have been an entrepreneur myself. So during this journey, when it got all settled around 2018, I thought of creating an extra income for myself and exploring some more avenues because my roots were from finance. I'm myself, I'm a commerce graduate and I have done MBA in finance. So always this has been in in my blood and roots. So I wanted to explore something into this genre. So 2018, I started exploring. I was basically doing a little bit of trading. Wasn't doing that much. From 2019, I basically started so that was the time where I was doing it quite oftenly. And then in 2020 there was lockdown and the entire business was shifted to work from home stuff. So that was a time wherein I started doing it for the full time. And initially I was doing only cash intraday trades. I wasn't even touching this options. So I was very raw to this particular stuff till 2020 mid. So in the later half of 2020 I started options trading.
That's an amazing journey.
So, please, I have one question for you. Coming to a topic like how to buy stock options for a living. So, when people generally, when they think of options, they start with index options and like index, call and put. So, why stock options and how did you decide to go into stock options? Can you give more detail on it?
See, so there also is a very interesting story behind it. So I when I started trading, as as everyone does, and when you start learning, I think we definitely have a thing in mind that we may lose big, or we may have a very we may create a shell of having a risk in our own hand. The controllables should be in our hand. So I basically, started with indexes itself. I started with Bank Nifty. I never started with Nifty. I started with Bank Nifty. The reason being, as a newbie, I thought, the number of points that we can catch in options would be rather more, as we can, as we can catch in Nifty, because Bank Nifty is a bigger index, and we can make more profits. How does a newbie, thinks? So the same was my, psyche when I started doing it. So later on, when I started doing it, and gradually I realized that this is something that is very monotonous. So I started exploring stocks as well. um, but then the catch is something different. Whenever I traded stocks, I was in better profits as compared to indices. Indices were the place wherein I lost huge in my career. So there was a time I started getting hitch of it. So I thought of let me stop doing indexes and let me start exploring options in stocks. So when I started doing and exploring the stock options, it was giving me better results. And probably meanwhile, whenever I tried doing indexes along, wasn't that great for me. I would not say that it has always been a losing streak for me, but then yes, comparatively, stock options have always been so kind to me, probably. So indexes, and then there was an incident wherein I was trading on a day, and there was expiry, and there was Reliance AGM, and all of there was together, and I lost huge that day. Huge means it was super huge. In my entire career, I haven't lost that much. And that was the day wherein I decided that I won't trade a lot on indexes, because then I maybe I would have considered it as a jinx a lot. But then yes, the major reason of being away from indices a lot is that I have always lost huge in indices. But now when I play indices, it is always on a very trending day or on Thursdays. So Thursdays is my most favorite day when I trade indexes. That's it.
Okay, got it. So, like, can you tell us any differences that you face on trading, like indices versus stocks? So what all like differences do you think to our audience?
Especially like in terms of why you said only on the expiry day you trade, and if so, then why you trade so versus a stock index, a
See,
stock option. Sorry.
yeah. So when it comes to stocks, I am very well versed with all my stock options that I trade with. So the number of FNO stocks that you see my screen, any single stock that you come to my screen, you want me to showcase it to you. All all the stocks have all the levels marked. The moment there is a because see, I'm a momentum trader. I don't trade on on any kind of stock which is dead, wherein we are expecting a pullback or wherein we are expecting a breakout and stuff. When I see momentum, I jump into that trade. So for that, for catching that sort of momentum, you have to be well versed with your homework, I believe. So when you are done with your homework, it is very easy for you. So how most of the people talk about stock options is, number one, people think the approach towards stock options is that how the momentum has to be catched. So before catching the momentum, I think you have to be very, very well versed with your homework. So as I say that I always do my homework beforehand. So I try to fetch my trades over the night. If I have to trade tomorrow, I'll do my homework today, checking that which all stocks have the possibility to take the position in, despite of a gap up and gap down. If the levels are not being matched, then we have to actually drop them. But then again, most of the homework is done beforehand itself. And even if the homework is not done, let's take example, there is a news, and you saw there is a momentum coming in the stock and you can catch it. But then again, you have to be prepared with your levels. In a fraction of a second, you cannot do that. So whenever I get time, mostly on the weekdays, I try to do it over the night. And on weekends, I try to rebalance my entire structure of FNO stocks, so that the momentum can be caught at the right time. That's how I do it.
Okay. Yeah, got it. So, like one following up to the answer you answer you made. So, like in the stocks, so there are multiple of stocks in which you can trade stock options. So, do you like how do you allocate the capital like on the stocks for the stock options? Like, how do you decide on that? Um,
So, as I said that, I decide my intraday stocks beforehand itself. Um, I'm more of an intraday trader. Positionals are something that, if I know that, there's a concrete directional trading which I can do in a particular stock, then, I can carry it as a positional trade. However, I try to, fix on a intraday movement itself. So when it comes to allocation, the first rule is, if I'm trading intraday, I have to ensure that my entire trades which are open has to have a balance. So let's take an example. See, I don't hedge. Okay, I'm a like naked option buyer. So I don't hedge the position. So the kind of risk that I have to take into my intraday trading also has to be taken care in terms of the momentum that I'm trading in. So let's take an example. I'm trading a XYZ stock and it has lost the momentum. So I would not be into that particular trade. I may try to, get out of it because momentum is not into the stock and, it may decay my premium first thing. So when it comes to capital allocation, um, it is purely upon, on the momentum. So let's take an example. If there is a trade which is, I think it has a, extremely, um, it is popping out as an extremely good risk and reward trade. Um, I wouldn't mind going in one shot with it. But yes, definitely, if I have more positions open with it, I'll ensure that it is not hampering my other position in case if the direction doesn't goes that well. But yes, as I said, I'm more of a momentum trader. I try to stick and I try to get into trade which is very dynamic. I don't trade the static kind of stocks. So that has to be taken care of by me.
So do you mostly buy or you sell?
No, no,
What's
no.
your favorite style? Like when you trade in intraday, it's mostly buy only, right?
Buy means, yeah, I'm option buyer. So
Option buyer. So mostly you buy. Now, how do you select these stocks? Like, do you have any scanner with which you look at, or any certain criteria? How do you select them?
um, so yeah, see, so I have a setup for which I scan the stocks over the night. So one predominant or I would say one most important indicator I would say which I use is a 44 moving average, through which I scan over the nights. That these trades can be entered tomorrow depending on their supports and resistance obviously. But then 44 moving average is what I check into over the night, ensuring that these are the trades which can be the momentum or which could be the potential trades for tomorrow. Now, after checking out these trades over the night, definitely then tomorrow is the day wherein we have to trade. So we have to ensure that these levels that I have marked or these scripts that I have chosen for the next day also fit into the setup that I have. So these setup has several indicators, to these indicators has to actually be positive all in one go to ensure that that trade has to be entered. So the execution needs some indicators follow up the next day. But yes, as I said, script has to be finalized by me. So I finalize the script over the night itself without any another shadow of doubt, because as I said, that I tried doing my homework beforehand itself, so that because see, the number of stocks that we have in FNO is huge, so you cannot just pop up to the screen and just keep on finding the script the very immediate moment, and you
correct.
cannot
Yeah.
trade that.
That was my
So
question coming up actually. Yes, please, Preeti. Please
yeah,
clarify this part. Very important for me.
yeah. So as I said, the confirmation on 44 moving average was once is done. So the execution on the next day has to be done as per my setup. I have few indicators, in line in my system. So once they allow and once they give me a go ahead signal, I trade on them, ensuring that all of them are aligned. And the only probable scripts and the potential scripts that I've sorted out. Apart from that, if I find anything popping up which is extremely good in risk and reward, because as I said that I do homeworks on my weekends, Saturday and Sunday is a day wherein I try and manage the fresh support resistance or gaps, etc., whatever is there on the screen, and I just try to put my chart on the right way. So I don't face any difficulty in training an immediate setup also. It's just that it has a momentum. So if there is a risk and reward while a good trade, then I don't mind trading it immediately as well. That's how I go about it.
So Preeti, would you take any kind of stocks, or you mostly prefer large caps, Nifty 100, Nifty 50? Which kind of scripts you will generally, if the scanner picks up some small cap, not small cap, some stock which is like not in Nifty 100, would you still trade on those stocks?
Yeah. So there is no boundaries at all. I have never
Okay.
been in any sort of foundation, and I think I have met many option buyers, and even many people who do buying, and they are very restricted with their scripts that they have. So let's say they will have 10 set of stocks wherein they'll go ahead and they'll trade. But then with me, I am not at all into this. Once it is in my scanner and I find that, as per my moving average, it is, it's a script which is potential enough and the risk reward is decent, I wouldn't mind trading any script. So that's, so another reason of being into stock option trading is that, it's very interesting to have new scripts on the screen and, to trade them. So I'm very fond of, new scripts getting in and popping in the screen and trading them. So there's no boundaries as such for me.
Yeah, nice. So,
Great.
one announcement for the listener. So, if you have any question for Preeti, you can directly DM me or Shankha, or else we can ask the questions to Preeti. Yeah. So,
And also, you
coming
see,
to
this is
hi.
sorry, guys. It's also a very new topic which we are covering. I would request all of you, like, if you want your friends to get benefited or your network to get benefited from this, so I would request you to just share the post which we had shared, through which you had come. So that will benefit a larger audience, right? So Manas, to you. Sorry, Manas,
Yeah.
to you.
Yeah. So, I had one question. So, you talked about like you try to gauge momentum for the stocks that you pick, like which are in high momentum. So, you talked about one indicator, 40-40 moving average. So, apart from that, what all additional indicators or parameters you check to gauge momentum? Like, how do you decide which stock is having good momentum?
Um, See, I don't know what is the definition of momentum to people, but for me, the first thing is, it has to be very dynamic. Dynamic in terms of, it couldn't be a very static script, which is not moving or which is, just hovering around a price, number one. Number two, it has to be volatile. So when we use the term volatile, most of the people think that the price is 10 points up in a go and 20 points down in the go. So it's not volatility. Volatility means it has to has a certain movement in the stock so that we can at least trade it, because option buying is more about getting the script to be moved so that we can actually get into the movement of the price and we can catch that. So when we talk about option selling, it is more of process wherein we can be more calm and quiet. However, being an option buyer, it is more of an aggressive sort of trading, and you have to have a forte in catching the momentum and volatility. So it's just that you need to have a risk management in place. So one thing I'd like to address here is that whenever we talk about option buying, people tell it that option buying is very risky. So this preconceived notion, I think, has to be actually has to be eradicated. Probably, people should think that it is more about managing the risk rather than being it risky. So once you have the risk management in place, And once you find that script which is very dynamic and which has the momentum, I think then you are all set and done. There's nothing more that you have to basically think about it. It's just that, as I said, that your homework has to be in place, and when you have a proper setup. So as you were talking about the indicators, so the indicators which I basically use apart from the moving averages, so on a daily time frame, sorry, on an intraday time frame, I only do not use 44 moving average. I use 21 and 50 moving average as well, because now when we talk about moving average, it is a moving average which gives the calculation of the normal average. So on intraday trading, I use EMA, that is exponential moving average, which basically gives preference to the current sentiment. So I try to combine and use all of it. So moving average is only used overnight. Exponential moving averages I use intraday. Apart from that, I use ADX, RSI, and MACD for the confirmation signals. I use stochastic as well, but then is more on the indices if I trade. So stochastic is more which I use on indexes, but on stock options I use MACD, RSI, and ADX for the reconfirmation of executing the trade.
Right, Preeti. See, Preeti, you spoke about some of the indicators which you look at, but how do you know that the direction is going to change? Is it based on your decision is based on price action or based on what your indicators are referring?
No, so indicators are just the signal to enter and exit. But when I talk about confirming the trades and having a as I said that I confirm that it is over the night itself. I decide that this is the script where I'm going to enter. So price action is automatically decided before night itself. As I said that the kind of gap up and gap down we are into at the moment, that is a certain level wherein the directions or the levels has to be changed, or we may actually cancel the entire script that we have to enter. But then again, the exit and entry is completely on the price action, but the confirmation of it, if I'm going to enter or not, is just what I confirm from the indicators. However, the entire, yeah.
Yes, Preeti. Please continue. Please continue.
Yeah, so I said that the indicators are just the signal that I
Yes.
have to enter. Like they just confirm me, they just allow me. That doesn't mean that in any case, if the price action is changing and if the indicators are telling me to still be in the trade, I would be in the trade. So as I said, the momentum and the option buying are are actually very well go with each other. So in
Okay.
case if you find that there is any kind of directional change happening, I won't wait for my indicators, to command me that you can or you have to exit. So then it's completely on that particular instance that it is not making any sense or the direction is not moving properly, and then in that case, the exits can be made. However, these the kind of indicators I'm using, that doesn't gives any kind of fake signal, but yes, most of the time it happens that the price action gives you a pre information itself. So nothing like price indicator, as I say. So a price indicator is always has to be the first preference. So in case if you're doing an intraday.
Okay,
Right.
good. So you talked about like using multiple moving averages or indicators. So do you use these on spot or the futures, like the underlying? You check the spot chart or you refer to the future chart also while making any decision?
No, I purely trade on spot charts itself. I don't even look at future charts at all. So it's purely on the spot chart that even I post the charts, that is completely the spot chart that I even check into. Even if I enter, even if I trade, it's completely on the spot chart itself. Whenever if I'm trading a future, then it's completely a different story.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So one question I have from the audience also, and I also had this question that key, how do you define the stop loss and target for this uh, in option buying? Like So this is a question from one of the audience.
So when I'm in a positional trade, Manas, then probably I have to actually wait for the support and resistances of that particular script. So let's take an example. If I have bought any XYZ script and I want to hold it for as a positional trade in option buying. So then in that case, I have to ensure that I am referring to their spot price charts, and I actually refer to the support and resistance of that particular stock until and unless it is not breached and sustained, then I'll be into that particular trade. But when it comes to intraday, as I said, I have an entire setup wherein I use few indicators, which gives me a clear, and I think um, I won't, talk about the hit ratio, but yes, most of the time they give me a clear and a crisp entry and exit for. If you talk about the premiums, if somebody is talking about the premiums in this particular option buying, that yes, I use few indicators which help me to derive the premium things as well. So that's how I trade on intraday. But for positionals, yeah, it is completely on the support and resistance of that particular stock. So I will be into that trade in case my levels are not breached, and or my levels are not sustained, depending on the call and sorry, on the short and buy, whatever trade I'm.
Not a percentage stop, right, Preeti? So you don't put percentage stop like some of us, like for in FNO, we use in options like 35% of the premium, 25% of the premium is my stop. So you don't use a stop like that. It's based on the underlying
Yeah, it's based on the underlying, and
in
it
the
also based
indicators.
upon, yeah, and it was also based see for intraday. Definitely there is a capping that I may not lose a bigger portion of my capital, or I may not lose a bigger portion of my that particular premium. The reason being that, so let's take an example. If I have actually entered into a trade with a mindset of intraday, I would never carry it forward. The reason being that you have not seen or you have not analyzed that particular trade on a bigger time frame, number one. Number two, you neither have actually checked the price action of that particular stock on a bigger time frame. So the carry forwards, or a random stretching of a stock or a script in option buying without any proper analysis can be suicidal. So it's always important for you to do your homework on a different time frame, and as per your time frame, the conclusion of that particular trade, whether it can be an intraday trade or it can be a positional trade, has to be decided. So it cannot be as per your whims and senses that you can go ahead and you can take this trade and then you can carry it forward for next 2 days. No, it doesn't happen like that. Until unless you're very sure about the directions, then you can go ahead, because most of the option buyers lose when they lose the direction of the trade. And I think with the positional trades, most of the time you have to be very particular about the trade that you are into, that it is in the right direction. The moment you lose the direction and you are still into the trade, then you're going to lose that trade. And you still, if you just hold to that trade in the hope, then I think that's where we fail in option buying. So one important thing.
Hope trade is the worst kind of trade.
Yeah.
So you must be using very shorter time frame, can you? Like, what's your time frame which you use, Preeti, for intraday
So,
especially?
so for overnight confirmation of rates, I use 15 minutes. And when it comes to the trading execution and stuff, so I have three different kind of things. First, as I said, when I take a confirmation on my script over the night, it is on the 15 minutes time frame. When I execute the trade the next day, the entry I make is on 5 minutes candle, and then when up till when I can be in the trade, it is decided upon the 30 minutes time frame. So these are I rarely use 15 minutes, but yes, when the directions are a little bit losing, or I feel that there can be a discrepancy in the trade, or I really need to check that if there is any kind of risk which is getting involved into the trade, or are we losing the momentum? So at that particular point of time, then I shuffle between 15 and 30. But then up till when I have to be into the trade, it is decided on 30 minutes. Entry is on 5 minutes, and overnight confirmation is on 15 minutes time frame.
So Preeti, on an average, how many stocks do you trade in a day? On an average.
Approximately average is 4.
Average is 4, okay.
Which does not include indices.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, my question is like, do you hedge your positions also? Like, in your buy position, do you try to take a higher strike or selling an option, like to hedge it, or like do you take any contra position trades, like buying a put? If you ever carry the position like overnight, so how do you like go about hedging the trade if it goes wrong, all wrong?
So Manas, one thing I have never done is hedging.
Okay.
There are two reasons to it. Number one, I never get into a trade in case if I feel that there's a hedging required, or I never involved into any kind of script wherein I think that it can be too risky. See, risk, as I said, always. I don't know why people call options or option selling or buying risky. I think instead of calling it risky, we should call it as a segment wherein risk management is important. So I truly believe in case if you can manage your risk, then probably there is no problem. Why do we need a hedging is because of the two reasons. First is losing the directions. Number two, in case if we feel that if the analysis went wrong, we can hedge it, and probably we can save that particular position from being into a deep red or stuff. But for me, I think when you're into option buying, you have to be concrete, and you have to be very precise with your homework, and you have to be from the beginning and from the scratch. You have to be in a mindset that what are you getting into. So for me, whenever I trade a script, or for me, whenever I get into any kind of trade, I ensure that I double check my parameters. Number two, I try to check that in case if things go wrong, what could be my maximum loss. And if it goes if it goes in a different direction, or my strategy doesn't work, or it may happen, then I cannot be 100% right, and that's very obvious. So in case if it happens, will I be able to make up that loss in case if I get into a wrong trade, or that doesn't actually goes my way. So that's the first question I ask myself, and then I ensure that I'm also prepared with a trade along in case if it doesn't work, because as I said, 3 to 4 trades is something that I do on a daily basis. So what if on that intraday itself, it something has a big dent? That doesn't mean I'll start doing revenge trading, but then again, I keep myself calm, and I ensure that I have something in hand, that if it doesn't goes right, I have something in hand which may cover my loss, and which may not also. But then again, I keep a backup plan ready, and I ensure that in case if the loss is made not on the same day, but on the other day, maybe with some precise or with a better homework, I can try to do that. So hedging is something that I have never done because of these reasons, because I try to be more confident. I try to be I try to do a double check on the parameters that I get into the trade with. So that's why I feel is more important. And the other ideas of hedging, I'm not sure if I may explore in future, but for now, I haven't done that, and not looking forward immediately for doing that as well.
It's ultimately pretty all about practice. The way it's based on our own personal experience. If we feel that hedging is important, it's important. It talks about the confidence of your trade also. So sometimes, 90% of the traders I've seen, they lose money only because of hope trade, which you rightfully showed today, which you rightfully shared with us today. It's just because of that. So hedging is definitely important, especially when you're not so confident. But I think if your trade is confident, you're confident, Your direction is clear. Yeah, hedging is not really required. But of course, to the audience, proper risk management is the key. That which people shared. Manas, do we have any other questions from the audience?
Yes, yes, I do have. So
Yeah,
yeah,
please.
one question is from one of our audiences. Like he's saying he makes a good profit in intraday, but at the end of the day, he loses due to over trading. So how to stop over trading and stick to one's discipline? And he's an option buyer in index.
So I think it's a general question. I think all of us
Yeah,
do that. Even I do it sometimes. So sometimes, as you said, what is the average strip that you trade into? So it's four. Sometimes I make it five. I make it six as well, because on that day you get overconfident that yes, you're making profits, and you have made 1 lakh, so you can make 2 lakhs also. It happens, and then you end up going to zero back home. So I think the best practice for controlling this emotion is that, see, initially I had the same notion, but how I overcome it was like, then I decided my minimum profit and maximum profit both as same for a particular day. So when I started making doing trading, I too made losses initially, and then gradually started recovering them, and then when things actually went for the full time. So the first thing which I decided, was to have a uh, confirmation that what is the minimum profit that I want to make from the market, and what's the minimum loss that I'll give to the market. So if you are into any sort of business, or if you are into any sort of job, so you are into a 9 to 5 job, and when you come from a 9 to 5 job, at the end of the month you get a salary, right? So in the same way, this trading is also a profession wherein from 9 to 3 you are giving your time, and you have to ensure that you are getting something out of it. So if you want to do a free job, that's completely your call. But then again, at the end of the entire 20 days of trading session, it has to be average. That what are you taking from the market? For that, you have to be very restricted to yourself, and you have to be very disciplined in terms of the minimum profit or the minimum loss that you want to take from the market. So maximum is something that you can get anytime, and in losses side, maximum should be actually controlled. So in the remote control is completely in your hand. Psychology is something that can be developed over the time, but then again, restricting yourself with a minimum amount of loss that you're pertaining for that particular day is something that can help you a lot. सो आई थिंक ऑप्शन बायर्स के लिए तो बहुत डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है. एक तो रेवेन्यू ट्रेडिंग हो जाती है, सेम डे लॉस रिकवर करना, बिकॉज ऐसा लगता है कि हमारा रिस्क तो लिमिटेड है. आप ये चीज ऑप्शन सेलिंग में करके देखिए, आप नहीं कर पाएंगे. व्हेन वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट हेज, ये हम हेज की बात ऑप्शन सेलिंग में इसलिए ज्यादा करते हैं क्योंकि वहां पे अनलिमिटेड रिस्क होता है. यहाँ पे आपको पता है कि आपने 10 रुपए का एक अंडरलाइन एसेट के लिए प्रीमियम पे किया है, वो 10 रुपए विल बिकम जीरो. But then again, people should understand that you can actually do very well. It's just that थोड़ा सा मैं ग्रीड नहीं बोलूंगी. आई थिंक थोड़ा ये कंट्रोल अगर हम कर लेना कि बहुत ज्यादा मार्केट को देके नहीं जाना है, दैट्स इनफ. मैक्सिमम प्रॉफिट्स, मिनिमम प्रॉफिट्स तो आपको आ जाता है. मैक्सिमम लॉसेस बस वी हैव टू कंट्रोल, एंड दैट्स इट. यू आर बैंग ऑन, यूर देयर.
All right. No, I am not. Manas, I don't think I've received any messages from
One
this.
more, yeah. One more question also on the similar lines for like someone who started to trade like as a beginner. So he's also asking how to stick to trade setup when what it as a beginner, as we are very anxious in price action when it is volatile in nature, and we always disobey the trade setup, and then we change our mind continuously, and we remove the stop loss also sometimes, like which he has said. So how to go about it?
So I think for these kind of people, there has to be a system called as alternative trading days. So why people get very aggressive and anxious, being into the trade, or into the trade is because they want to trade daily. They want to earn daily. So I think once you start having a practice of skipping a trade day, that will help you, because वो दिन आपको सिर्फ back test करना है. Sit on the screen, just ensure that you don't log into a demat account, even if you had the urge of doing it, or you just get very anxious doing it. But then इतना discipline तो आपको करना पड़ेगा. So then you don't open your demat account, don't log into the terminal, just be on the screen, 1 day trade and 1 day backtesting. And even the day that you're trading, please ensure that that particular backtesting is being followed the next day. So the analysis and execution, analysis execution has to go hand in hand. And when we talk about, हम एनालाइज करते हैं, एग्जीक्यूट नहीं कर पाते, आप सेम डे एग्जीक्यूट करने का ट्राई नहीं करिए, नेक्स्ट डे करिए, बिकॉज वो सेम डे आप बैक टेस्टिंग लाइव मार्केट में करेंगे, दैट विल हेल्प यू अलॉट, because then you'll understand that there could have been an exit. So what happens, off market जब हम चार्ट देखते हैं ना, बहुत इजी हो जाता है, अरे यहाँ पे एग्जिट हो रहा था, यहाँ पे एंट्री हो रहा था, डजंट मेक सेंस. आप लाइव मार्केट में वो ट्राई करिए देखने का कि यहाँ पे मैं एग्जिट अगर करता तो क्या होता, या फिर यहाँ पे मैं आई वुड हैव टेकन अ एंट्री अकॉर्डिंग टू माय सेटअप, व्हाटएवर सेटअप you are using. That will help you, to actually be more I would say to have a wisdom for yourself, because I think this is a business wherein the borrowed wisdom and the borrowed conviction is what वो आपको ले डूबती है. So please ensure that you're not riding somebody else's horse. Just ensure that you have a back testing done on your own setup. But then that can be really done the way that I said, that on one day live आप सिर्फ एनालिसिस करो, don't execute. So that urge of doing or executing a trade has to be controlled by you. As an adult, I think 18 years and above होंगे आप, आपका डीमैट ओपन है, and I think you're trading. So अपना कैपिटल मार्केट को देने से अच्छा थोड़ा सा सीख के एंड थोड़ा कामनेस से if you behave, no, I think there's lot many things that you can get from this market. Most of the people lose because they just want to trade daily. So addiction की जगह अगर थोड़ा execution analysis का one-on-one एक sync बिठा देंगे, so I think things can work for you wonderfully.
You're right, Preeti. It's all about how you control the addiction. I would like to add to what Preeti said about addiction, but at the same time, I'd like to add a little bit more point about stop loss removing. This is for anyone and everyone. This is my personal belief. If you're having a stop loss in mind, it should be in the system. If it can be just the day's low, it can be the day's high if you're short, it can be previous 15 minutes, 1 hour high, low, it can be anything. But if you have a stop loss in mind, it should be in system. If you're saying that whoever the gentleman or the lady who asked this question, when they said that we remove the stop loss, you should never do that. If you remove the stop loss, means you know what was your maximum risk. Don't do that. And I think keep your stop loss. And if you make, especially for the beginners, if you're making some certain amount of losses, fix it up. So I will not lose more than 2,000 today. I will not lose more than 1,000 today. I will not lose more than 5,000 today. Decide the amount of loss you can trade on. And if you see in your M2M, you're losing 2,000 and then you reached your limit, just square off all positions and shut the system. Go take a walk, come back, take a cup of coffee or drink some water, come back and switch on your system. It's based on how much maximum loss you can take. And this was something which some of my participants or students also came and asked me yesterday. Yesterday was a very volatile day, and even day before yesterday. So, you must know when to stop, Preeti, and that's rightfully you said. So, Preeti, before we end today, any advice to the audience, like who would like to buy options? The last moment advice, which will be our takeaway.
See, being an option buyer, I always tell people one thing, that you have a limited risk. You have the controllables in your hand. What is uncontrollable is with option selling. And when we talk about option selling, they have the large capital, and we just pay the premium to them. And I don't know how people take it, but positions are actually created by sellers. We are just buying the premium from them. So ensure that you don't chase and don't love your positions. Sometimes people think कि ऑप्शन सेलिंग में पैसा है, बाइंग में नहीं बनता. ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. लोगों को एक्सपेंसिव हमेशा अच्छा लगता है, बट इट इज नॉट ऑलवेज राइट. It's just that I don't know how many people know that 70% of the option premiums go zero every expiry. 70% of it. So when you are into option buying, two things will work for you: your strategy and your directional trades. Nothing else is going to work for you. So just make trend your friend. Don't chase the options. You miss it, just miss it. You will get 100 more trades in the coming sessions. And don't love your positions. That's what I have to tell them. So expensive is not always better. You have the limited risk, so ensure that the remote control is in your hand, and just that, and just protect yourself. Rest, everything can fall in place. That's it.
Right, Preeti. So that was lovely, and especially I loved the part where you spoke about trading in alternative days, where you do back testing in one day and the other day you trade. That will help you get out of your addiction. And when it's addiction, that means somewhere we are emotionally connected to our positions. And that's the time when we start making mistakes. We get out of our discipline and make mistakes. So, thank you everyone for joining today. And there is a myth which people have that you cannot buy options and make money. So I think Preeti, in a very nice way, explained to us, yes, you can buy options and make money as well. And that is very nicely explained. And wish you friends all the very best for your positions and have a great, exciting trading session next week as well. So till
Thank
next
you,
week.
Preeti, for joining. Yeah.
Till next week. See you, all of you. Manas, to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Preeti, for joining, and thank you all this wonderful audience. Join and yeah, have a
Thank you,
great weekend
Preeti.
ahead.
Thank you,
Thank
Chandra,
you.
and thank
We'll,
you, Manas, for having me here, and thank you everyone for joining in. Thank you so much.
and love you all for attending this program. Keep learning, and keep upgrading yourself. And you will definitely make and come into the league of professional trader. Wish you all the very best, everyone. Have a great weekend ahead. Thank you very much.